Welcome back to my Fire Emblem 6 PMU run. This is Chapter 9 and it's our first Fog of War chapter. In case you're not well versed in Fire Emblem, Fog of War means that a layer of fog is going to be covering most of the map, meaning that we won't be able to see enemy placement. You can see it in effect already here on the first turn before I made my first move. We couldn't see these two pirates. The closer you get to an enemy though, the easier it is to see them, so every unit has their own range that they can quote-unquote see through the fog. Thieves can see the furthest, but of course we don't have any thieves at our disposal. There are other methods of increasing range. You can either use a torch, which is just an item you can buy or find, or you can use a torch staff, which Saul actually has on him and he'll use a few times this chapter, which accomplishes basically the same thing as a torch, except it has more uses. As for the map, despite being Fog of War, it's not really that challenging. I actually distinctly remember having a lot more difficulty on this map my first run of it instead of this run, but I guess that comes with the familiarity I had with the map after completing it. Fog of War maps before you complete them can be quite daunting, since you don't know where any enemies are. But once you've played a game before and a map before, you can sort of guess where developers are going to put the enemies. It's somewhat obvious really the way they designed this game. Speaking of design, this spawn island platform is really unfortunately placed. It just has this tiny choke point that all my units have to go through in order to get onto the actual bulk of the map, which, I mean, it fits for the location, but it's just kind of annoying to play. If you have a flyer available, you can do some rescue drop shenanigans and drop people over the one tile wide rivers, but I don't have flyers, so every single one of my units had to walk through this tiny bridge, and it leaves Walt here getting left behind a little while. We'll pick him back up, but for the first few turns he's going to be lagging behind significantly. Speaking of lagging behind, Boars, one of my units that I praised early in the run, and I said, wow, he's actually more useful than I thought it would be. He's becoming dead weight. He's really not accomplishing much of anything, as you'll see right here in just a second. Yeah, he had an opportunity to get a kill here and he's not going to, and that's going to be one of his very few opportunities throughout the map to do anything useful. I guess it's because this map is mostly filled with axe users, but even if it weren't, it would be very hard to keep him on the front lines. I am heavily considering giving him the boots that we get in Chapter 14. I know it's a bit of a pitfall to give your low movement units boots instead of your high movement units boots, and trust me, in a standard run I would be giving my boots to a flyer or a paladin, but I think if we're going to be using Boars long term, he needs to have his mobility increased. He's really not going to be able to help much as he is right now. Again, speaking of not helping much, Ward is really falling off as well. There's only so much that high strength can do for you, and if you're getting doubled by some of the scarier enemies, it means that your survivability is really bad. It makes him very difficult to use, especially because just hitting with him is a risk in and of itself, since his hit rates are so low. The rest of my units seem to be doing pretty fine, but it's just these two that are sticking out being bad at the moment. Although I guess in the long run I did get pretty lucky with the units I was given. Most of them are pretty good, and I can handle having a few that are subpar. As for the map, it's pretty simple. You might see the island to the left there that's got two bridges coming off of it. That island is sort of like a detour. It doesn't go to the boss directly per se. It goes down to the left to a village that you can collect, and in that village is a silver sword, which we are going to grab because it's free and silver weapons are nice, but it's far from necessary. If we want to chat about units that are coming along nicely, Lilina is really pulling her weight, as I thought she would. She's actually a really nice chip damage dealer, and she's been consistently performing in the 2 chapters that we've had her now. But of course I could eat my words in the future. Maybe she'll just get HP and only HP on her level ups from now on, who knows. There are 2 recruitable characters on this map. The first of them is Fur, and the second one is Shin. Fur is a Swordmaster Myrmidon unit that is related to Bartray, who I'm sure you know if you've played Heroes or FE7. And speaking of which, we just killed her. Yeah, unfortunately we couldn't recruit her because she's recruited by Noah. While we do have Noah, he didn't die in Chapter 7. We can't deploy him because he's not a force deploy and it would go against the rules of the run. So we had to kill Fur. Unfortunate, I would have liked that Wodow, and I do like Fur as well, just as a character and a unit. But it has to happen like that sometimes. And here we see Shin, who, if you couldn't guess from the unit type, is related to Su, and Su is who we're going to use to recruit him. I didn't have to recruit him, I just thought it would be better than trying to kill him, and he can give us his short bow. I don't know, I didn't really need to recruit him, I just felt like it. Killing nomads is always a bit of a pain. Funny thing about Fur, I actually used her in my first run of this game, because on this very map, my Rutger took a crit to the face from the boss and died, and I just could not be bothered restarting to save his life. So I used Fur instead. It took a lot of chapters to get her up to snuff, and up to as good as Rutger was, but once she got there, she was really good. Of course, I'm never going to say that she's a better unit than Rutger, because Rutger starts off that good, and Fur requires significant investment to get that good. But, you know, once they're there, they're pretty fantastic. Here, Ward was just one damage off of killing that pirate brigand in one hit. Unfortunate, but such is life, and he's going to miss his steel axe. But that's okay, because this guy's not really a threat. And here's Shin. So we're going to actually have him carry some items that I'm going to sell. There's 2 shops on this map, one of them's an armory, one of them's a regular shop. And I have some items that I'm not going to need. Of them are the Iron Blade and Silver Blade, I think, that Roy had in Chapter 7 that I didn't sell. As well as a secret book and a 1-use Vulnerary and an 11-use Iron Lance, just because I'm probably never going to end up using either of those things. And then we're taking up space. And you have to sell items in map in this particular mode. You can sell them in the menu in the prep screen in normal mode, but in hard mode you don't have that option, so you have to sell anything that you want to sell while you're actually in the map. I know I was insulting Boars a bit earlier, but it's really not his fault that he's not getting used much on this map. It's basically just filled with axe users, with a few archers, and a miscellaneous amount of mercenaries and this single mage. He's the only mage in the entire place. He probably could have been somewhat useful against the archers, but you see here this mage is looking over the top part of the map, and to the right here is where all the archers are. So if I want to get Boars in range to deal with these archers before the rest of my units do it, I would need that mage to be dead. Unfortunately, Marcus can't kill him. You'll see there I've sent Rutger and Lance down to the bottom side of the map. I'm going to use them to get the Silver Sword. I probably could have got away with just sending Lance. Lance is that good now, but I figured some insurance would be nice and it would help me do it a bit more quickly. And there are quite a few enemies for them to take down, although when they're together it's not really a problem. So Su has the short bow now. I really don't know what the point of the short bow is. It's got a little bit more crit on it than a regular iron bow, but it has less might. It's like a halfway between a killer bow and an iron bow, except it's not really as good as either. If you want just consistent damage, you go with the iron bow, and if you want crit, you go with the killer bow. I guess it's a free bow though, so I'm not going to complain too much. Very unfortunate that Marcus can't double this guy, but such is life. We're also going to both miss our hits there. Really unfortunate. Mages are some of the scariest enemies, I swear. And here Roy is not going to get a 4% crit that he got earlier, but he is going to get a level up with HP, strength, skill and luck, which is really fantastic. His luck is really high. My Roy is lucky in a few ways. And here Boars gets his first and only kill for the entire map, so he didn't accomplish nothing, but he accomplished very nearly close to nothing. I think he did a bit of damage to a brigand earlier, so that's all he's going to do for the rest of the entire map basically. Unfortunate, but that's just what the design of this map warrants. Level up from Lilina here. Magic luck. Magic is good. Might is right. So you see that fort there in the middle of the ocean? Later on, in classic FE6 hard mode style, a bunch of pirates are going to start spawning from all these forts you see in the ocean, and they just don't stop. I believe it's a hard mode exclusive reinforcement batch. I might be wrong on that though. Either way, they're not especially threatening, but there are a lot of them, and of course they can walk on water, so they might catch you off guard. This crit from Rutger was actually a little bit unfortunate. It didn't end up mattering in the long run, but if you saw just the turn earlier, Rutger's sword only had 3 uses on it, and he got a crit. So if he had not crit that most recent enemy, he would have had 2 uses left for the enemy that just hit him, and he would have been able to kill. But because he got a crit twice in a row, that didn't end up happening. Of course, both of those enemies are going to die this turn anyway, so it didn't matter, but just a little bit unfortunate. And a nice little crit to finish things off for that group of enemies. Up the top here, Roy is going to showcase how good he is. He gets to one-round this mage. It's not so impressive because mages have pretty poor defense, but just the fact that Roy, of all people, is one-rounding a unit it's a sight to behold, really. Well done. And then we have Walt almost not even do 5 damage to that mercenary. Very impressive, Walt. Well done. Lilina will likely hit her 64%, although Marcus probably could have killed that guy with an Iron Lance, I'd imagine. Either way, it wasn't like anyone was in real danger that turn. And here I send Marcus off to start drawing some of the enemies from the right. That axe fighter there, Brigand, has a halberd, but as we saw last chapter, effective weapons in this game, especially axes, are just not really that scary, and will be completely fine to bait this guy with Marcus. Don't ask me why the enemies in this map are called Seiho either. I don't really know what that means. I assume it's Japanese, probably for sailor or something like that. I've got no idea. Just a result of the translation patch being used. Not a big deal, I just thought it was somewhat interesting. Here I'm going to use a torch staff on Saul. I really didn't need to. At this point I sort of know where everything is on the map, but it will reveal the boss for us real quick. He looks like he's related to the Desert Brigands, both in FE7 and in this game. Very, very handsome man. He's also a very scary boss. Nice level up from Lilina there, more magic. As far as bosses go in this game, at least so far that we've fought, he's pretty intense. He's a berserker, meaning that he gets a natural crit bonus, but he also comes with a killer axe equipped, which means that his crit chance is through the roof, and he does a lot of damage too. His stats aren't slacking. He's got some decent might, decent strength, and decent speed on him. Fortunately for us, he does also have a hand axe, meaning that we can lure him to use it at 2 range and then capitalize on that at 1 range. He'll still have a pretty significant crit chance on us, but because it's a hand axe and its might is low, it wouldn't kill us even if it crit. So here we get the first of the pirate reinforcements coming from the forts. You will be seeing them spawn every turn until the end of the map, and as you can see right here, through the video length, we are only halfway through the map. So these guys just spawn forever. It's not actually forever, but it really does feel like it. Again, they're not really all that threatening, but it is kind of annoying. I guess it is some good experience for my units though. I'm gonna have Marcus plug them up. You see, in the position he's at right now stops them from getting to any of the rest of my units until they clog up and start walking on the river. But until that happens, we can keep them at bay pretty easily. Unfortunately, Marcus doesn't double them, but that doesn't matter a whole lot because he can just take an extra turn to hit them, and then Lena can finish them off, get the bulk of the experience. The whole time that Marcus is plugging this hole against the pirates, he doesn't take a single hit, which shows you just how poor axes are in this game. They really don't have any hit on them at all. You might have noticed here Shin is in a bit of an unfortunate position. I didn't realize he was in range of that hand axe pirate fighter. So he is going to technically engage in combat, although again he doesn't have a weapon and he doesn't get hit either, so it doesn't matter a whole lot. But I didn't mean to do it, and I'd rather not have. These hand axe pirates are a little bit annoying, and there's a few more enemies down the bottom left that Rutger and Lance both have to deal with that are somewhat scary. This turn could have actually been pretty deadly for Ward if he had been targeted by and hit by all 3 enemies there. I do believe he could have died, but luckily the AI targeting didn't work like that, and he didn't get hit by the most deadly opponent anyway. Here Rutger has just enough strength to 2-hit KO this guy with an Iron Sword, which is fantastic. Those strength level ups coming into play. And speaking of strength level ups, Lilina is going pretty ham with hers, although it's magic for her of course, but the point still stands. Here I try to do something with Ward. It was never going to work, but I have to try it where I can basically. And to make up for that embarrassing loss, Roy's going to get a 7% crit. Wait, ignore that. He gets a 7% crit later. Oops, my bad. That's okay, because we're going to give that kill to someone else anyway. Someone like Sue. She's going to get a level off of that. HP, skill, speed. Pretty decent. Some strength would be nice, but that's alright. Speaking of some strength would be nice, we have the strength screwed archer himself here. I elect to not attack with him because if he got hit by that fighter twice, and also the archer, he would 100% die. So I decided to leave him be. Level up from Marcus here. HP, skill, speed, luck. Fantastic from Marcus, honestly. He's a pretty valid candidate for the speed wings, I think, when we get them. He only needs a little boost to remain competitive for the rest of the game, I'd say, with the way he's been leveling. So I'm very proud of him. He's making my job easy. There's the crit I was thinking of. I swear, all these brigands and pirates and bandits, they all look the same to me. I don't know if that's racist in Fire Emblem land, but I don't care. They're too similar, goddammit. So you see these 2 villages up the top right here. Going to either of them triggers a different map for you to go on in the next chapter. It's not really a Gaiden chapter per se. It's just like an optional routing type thing. And the characters you get there are identical, so you don't miss out on anybody by going to one village and not going to the other. It just makes the maps a little bit different. So I opt to go to the village on the right, not because the map is necessarily better, but because it gives you a restore staff. And from my knowledge of this game, restore staves are going to be very, very useful in some of the later chapters. And the village on the left, in case you're curious, gives you a killer bow, I believe, which I already have one of, and isn't that useful. It's a little bit unfortunate because I haven't gone to the chapter that would come from taking the killer bow yet. I would like to have done everything in this game before I stop playing it, but I'm not gonna gimp myself just for the sake of seeing a chapter I haven't seen before, especially when all the recruitable units are exactly the same. So the pirates are starting to double up here. There's starting to be more of them than Marcus can handle in one turn. Which means they're slowly going to start making their way up that river and start targeting other people. Unless we stop them, of course. Here we're going to get rid of some of the items that we have, and when I say some, I mean all of the items that Shin has on him. Get some nice gold out of that. I'm just going to grab a fire tome and 2 torches. The fire tome is because Lilina is going to burn through one this chapter, and the torches are because I just thought it might be useful in the future. They're pretty cheap, and I think I only had 1 torch apart from the staff, so I figured why not. In hindsight, I probably could have grabbed a few weapons, but looking at my inventory, I don't think I need any extra weapons at the moment, at least not from this particular vendor. I decided to just heal Lilina here because she is in range of that pirate on the bridge right now. And leaving Ward here puts the boss into vision. Luckily Lilina is going to dodge that particular hand axe, because axes suck. News at 11. So that pirate that Lilina just hit is in a really convenient position for people on the right side of the bridge to come over and just smack them. And because Roy is a solid unit now, he can actually get that kill. I really should have used Thunder there or hit him with Marcus first, but I misread the numbers, did the math wrong, etc. I'm a bad gamer. Here, I'm going to attempt to damage the boss a little bit. Obviously Sue can't do anything because she's weak and bows are weak. But Ward could potentially do a little bit of damage. Of course his hit rate is atrocious, and spoiler alert, he's not actually going to hit. But it's worth it to try, because it's very safe. I can't be countered as of right now. And it could get Ward some very needed experience. Again, it's not going to, but it could. And here Bors is going to do the only useful thing that he has done the entire map, and rescue Ward out of there so he doesn't get destroyed on enemy phase. See these pirates on the bridge that Marcus is blocking are starting to clog up just a little bit. I don't know. 6 pirates, I think that is. Just a bit much, don't you think? And here you see the might of that killer axe. That would destroy Rutger if it crit him, and it very easily could. And here Lance, because his strength is somewhat low, just can't do enough damage to make it worth taking that risk. He wouldn't die, but there's no point in even trying. Instead, I'm going to try to use the light brand a little bit to goad him into using his hand axe. Here I was just doing some math with the damage to see if Ward could handle being left in range. He can't. He would absolutely die, especially if he got crit. But even without getting crit, I think he would die. These pirates actually go so long that Marcus breaks his iron sword, which I think had 25 something uses at the start of this map. Impressive stuff. I decide one more time to try to get a hit in with Ward, I think. Or maybe I just figure it's not worth it. Yeah, I think I just say, nah, it's not worth it, doesn't matter. And I leave Rutger or Lance, I forget which one, in range with a Lightbrand. Yeah, I think I leave Lance in range next turn. Next player phase, that is. Some of these pirates get doubled by Marcus and Lilina, and some of them don't. I'd imagine the ones that do have steel axes, and that's why they're getting doubled. I think the rest of them have poison axes or hand axes. I'm not entirely sure though. Either way, completely non-threatening. Honestly, with Lilina, I should have used Thunder and killed that other pirate, but again, it didn't really matter. Obviously, no one died. And Magic Luck level up. Her magic is already really, really good. I mean, we always knew it would be, but seeing it in action is very satisfying. This is another scenario where I should have used Marcus first and then Roy. Bit of a waste of experience, but whatever. I have to get Saul out of range here because he's in range of the pirate on the river. Walt would be too, but only from 2 range, so I feel comfortable leaving him there. Doing a little bit of chip damage, mostly just to get experience. So here I'm going to trade Lance the Lightbrand and have him goad the boss into using his hand axe, which will make him actually manageable. See, even with weapon triangle advantage, the hit rates are pretty poor, which just goes to show you how good thrones are in this game. But we already knew that, I guess. Look at all those pirates. This is FE6 hard mode, alright. Again, it's not even that they're difficult, there's just so many of them. It's more annoying than anything else. So now the boss is using his hand axe. Lance is going to get a level off that. Look at this guy. 20 speed, absolute unit. 12 strength is a little bit to be desired, sure. But the thing about speed and strength is that you can get around having low strength by using powerful weapons, silver weapons, killer weapons, all the rest. You really can't get around having low speed. Did I say speed the first time? I meant strength. You can get around having low strength by having good weapons, but you can't get around having low speed unless you use brave weapons, I guess, but that's not really a solution, is it? I don't know. I'd much rather have a unit that's fast but weak than strong but slow like Ward is. But even more than that, I'd like to have a unit that has all the things just like Rutger does. He's fast and strong, and just killed the boss with a crit. Well done. Look at this guy's stats. 20 speed, 17 strength, defense to boot, decent HP. He's great. Which means that when he gets into heroes, he's going to have 33 base speed, 32 base attack, and 50 HP. And Ferb will be better than him. Unfortunate. Nice crit from Marcus there. Just a little bit more experience. Completely non-consequential Doesn't matter at all, but it's nice, I guess. So now that the boss is dead, we can start to move Roy up to the throne. We're gonna do a mini rescue chain of sorts to get him up there. I would love to kill the rest of these pirates with some of my weaker units, but I honestly could not be bothered. I didn't think there was much of a point. Lilina will get experience later. I think she's already at level 10 or close to it, which is as far as I need her to be for my purposes. And I just didn't feel like fighting any more pirates, to be completely honest with you. Look how many there are. There's probably more going to spawn later anyway. So after this enemy phase, we're just going to get our final bits of experience and then conquer. I almost forgot to grab the village. You'll see, I think at the end of this turn, I finally grab it. I've had Shin in front of it for a few turns now. I just keep forgetting about him. I decided to heal here with Soul just because I thought it was gonna be the last turn, which it kind of was. And here I finally remember to get that village. We get a restore staff out of that. Very, very useful. I like it. And the final enemy phase is upon us. So we're just going to get as much experience out of these guys as possible. I think Marcus is even using an axe at this point because his sword broke, or it's about to. I wasn't paying attention. Bolt's gonna take a hit here. Speaking of taking a hit, I think I already mentioned it, but Marcus hasn't been hit a single time throughout this entire duration. Not by a single hit, single hand axe, anything like that. And Walt is gonna get strength. Holy crap, for the first time, actually for the third time in 16 level ups, he got strength. What a fantastic unit. Well done, I'm very proud of you, Walt. So that's basically the chapter. These guys are going to get their final bit of experience and then we're going to conquer. So there's not much left for me to say. Thanks for watching and hopefully I'll see you next time.